it's SimsEclaire here and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are doing another one of our Spooktober builds, and this one is going to be the house from The Conjuring. Now, if those of you who haven't seen it, The Conjuring is a kind of a more recent horror movie, and by more recent, I mean it's like 7 years old by now. I think it came out in 2013, but it's not one of the original classics like Halloween or any of those, but it's still one of my all-time favorites. I still remember watching this in the theaters. My mom took me, my sister, and my grandmother because we're all super in love with scary movies, and it was the first one I had seen in a theater in a while. And it was such a great movie. It had such great scares. So, and I still watch it on the regular. I've actually been trying to find it to see if I have it on a streaming service because I do own the movie. Well, my family owns the movie, but it's at my mother's apartment. And when I'm there, we usually end up watching like new releases of movies. So we haven't really watched it in a while. So I've been trying to find it so I don't have to steal the movie from her, but I think I'm going to have to. But because of that, as you can tell, as I said, I haven't seen the movie in a little bit, so I actually kind of did this house off of memory / off of pictures I could find on the internet, and my sister is actually a huge help. She was kind of helping me Google some different pictures while I was building this. And as you could see just right now in the video, I kind of flipped the house around, and it's because on the cover for the movie, it's actually the back of the house that you see, but I totally forgot about that when I was building this, so I built it as the front, and then I just real quickly flipped it around, and now I'm building the actual front of the house. But this house was super confusing. That's why I had to get my sister to help me out. I'll talk more about it when we get upstairs, but it feels like the same thing with all of these scary movies. The way the house looks on the outside does not match how it looks on the inside, and I get it, like they do partially like inside houses, partially on sets, but it's really frustrating because I try so hard to make these as accurate as possible, and then like some of the rooms have to end up on other sides of the house, and it's just, yeah, I don't know, it's just frustrating. But right here, you saw I had to put my cheats in again, so I actually had to leave the game for a little bit, and that's why we kind of skipped over a couple of tree placements. You also missed me building this little pond we have in the back area here. I thought my camera was recording. I had left to go help my dad bring some groceries into the house, and then I came back and I went right back into filming, but my dog had slammed my computer shut with his paws, and I didn't realize that had shut off my camera. So I know that's such a stupid thing. Of course, closing your computer would shut off your camera, but I didn't even think about it. So I just opened it up and started building, and like I put all the windows on the house, and I did all the trims for the roof and all that stuff, and then I built the base for this pond that I'm filling in back here. And then my computer was like acting really laggy, and I was so frustrated, so I shut everything down, and then that's when I realized it wasn't recording, and I was like, oh crap. So I decided, instead of deleting all the windows, I didn't think that me doing all the roof trims and all the windows and that stuff was super important for this video, so I decided that it'd be okay if I just left it out. So I hope you guys don't mind. And then you saw me real quickly doing some landscaping around that pond just to make it look a little bit more natural. The house in the movie has like a little dock area in the back. That's a part of like one of the main plot points in the movie towards the end. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm gonna try not to spoil that exact one because that doesn't really have anything to do with the Conjuring movie itself. It kind of expands into the whole Conjuring universe, but the pond does play a role later on in the movie. But now we're going on into the interior, and if you see any pauses, I tried to cut them all out. I really did, but I was trying to like search through all of my reference pictures while I was doing this to find all the right angles to try and get this house as accurately as possible. And as you can see, if you are a fan of the movie, I did forget to put the grandfather clock here. I do go back and fix it. I apologize. But right now I'm placing some pictures along the stairwell. So one of the key things in the movie is that the mom keeps placing all of these pictures of her and her family along the stairwell, and the demon that's haunting them, or the ghost that's haunting them, Basheeba, I think it was, yeah, Basheeba, she keeps knocking them down and trying to like ruin the mother's spirit for her family, because the main point of the movie is that like the mother the ghost feeds off of the mother and then uses her energy to kill. I don't think I can say that on YouTube, so I'm not gonna say what she does with the children, but let's just go with it's not a very nice thing. But going into this living room, I had an issue with decorating this because the initial scene that you see, the furniture is all laid out, but then I decided to change it around a little bit. So you see me place a rug here, but I do end up switching it out for a more fluffy rug because partway through the movie, it's like 30 minutes into it, the Warrens come to visit the house and they realize that all of the kids are sleeping in the living room because it's warmer because the heat doesn't work, but also they feel safer because they don't want to sleep separate from their parents. So I kind of just set up like a little sleeping area here where I figured all of the kids would be. The family does have 5 children. It's a 4-bedroom house though. Yeah, it's a 4-bedroom house. So the oldest daughter has her own bedroom, and then the other 4 share 2 in each room, and then the parents have a bedroom. Those are all upstairs. And I'm placing a couple of kids' clutter items because when the Warrens first come in, the mom goes through and kind of has to pick up a whole bunch of stuff. And I figured since all the kids were living down here, and one of them is very small, I actually ended up giving her a toddler bed. I figured that they probably had a whole bunch of toys and junk and stuff all around, especially since they kind of just moved in. I think the entirety of the movie takes place within their first year of living in the house, maybe even their first 6 months. So I wanted to make sure I got, enough mess around to make sure that it looked like the kids were living down here, but also not too much stuff because they spent all of their money on buying the house, so they probably didn't have a lot to kind of work with. They didn't have a lot of clutter, they didn't have a lot of furniture, and looking back at the movie, they really didn't. I mean, as the scenes progress, they seem to get more and more, so I think that was another one of the not really cohesive moments of the house decorating. But going over here, there is one scene in the movie where one of the girls gets dragged by the ghost, and this is the only part where you see this room back here that I'm about to start decorating, and it's separated by 2 glass walls with wood frames, which is what I'm doing here with these windows. And the girl actually gets dragged into the window. It's actually quite unfortunate. She doesn't get injured or anything, which is honestly kind of surprising considering her whole back just flings against a glass window. But right next to the glass window there, you can see that there's a bookshelf, and then it looks like there's a table, so I'm assuming that this is their formal dining room, but they kind of pushed it aside to make room for all their equipment, because if you haven't seen the movie The Conjuring, basically the Warrens have to get permission from the church to perform the exorcism. And so they're in the process of trying to film all of the evidence that they need to get the church to approve the exorcism. So they have all their camera equipment, they have all their temperature equipment, their different black lights and stuff to see where the ghosts footprints are in the house. So it's kind of a cool way to look at it. It's not like a classic haunting where it's this family dealing with a ghost. It's the investigation of the Warrens, and that's kind of what the whole Conjuring series is, including the second one. Now, if any of you say anything in the comments, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to do the house from the second Conjuring. It is a nice house, and honestly, we see more of that house than we probably even do of this one. I can recall it perfectly in my head what that house looks like, although I also did just watch that movie. But I'm not quite sure I'm going to have the time because I have a whole bunch of houses planned already. So if there's one that I end up deciding not to do, I will go ahead and do that one, because that one is also one of my favorites. And I'm not doing the other Conjuring movies because technically the Nun is a part of the Conjuring, but I'm not building the nun house. It's the Abbey. That's what it's called. I'm not building an Abbey, and I thought about doing the actual Warrens house, but I don't think I could do justice to the little museum that they have in their basement. I just don't think, and I don't want to mess it up super badly, so I think I might skip the Warrens house for now. Maybe I'll do it at a later date, but until I can find all of the clutter items that I think I'm going to need to make that house work, I don't want to do that. But I kind of skipped over that room that I was decorating there just because, as I said, you don't see a lot of it in the movie, so a lot of that was me just making stuff up to put there. And then here is the kitchen, and this is where the whole layout of the house starts to not really make sense. According to this one scene that you can see that other room in, the kitchen is actually behind that room, but according to the hallway in the opening scene of the movie, the kitchen is directly in the back of the house from that hallway. So that's how I did it here. I did the floor plan like that, and then when I rewatched that other scene, I was like, but how? I'm like, the kitchen can't stretch across the entire way of the back of the house. It's not that big, because there's also a scene in the movie where they're inside of the kitchen, and it's not that big. So I was so confused. I didn't know where. I was like, where is this kitchen supposed to go? Not to mention there's a back door, and in the scene where you're watching, where they're actually in the kitchen, the back door looks like it's to the right of all the counters, but from the outside of the house, the outside door is dead smack in the middle of the house. So it was super confusing. I tried my best. So the layout is a little off, and obviously some corners like this one over here we don't actually see in the film, so I do decorate some of these just a little, try and get some normal clutter items, some different things that aren't necessarily related to the movie, because we don't know necessarily what's in there. I think I just said necessarily like 8 times in that sentence. I am so sorry. But they also have like I said, they have a whole bunch of kids, so I tried to make things not look super neat, because it's also kind of like a tradition in scary movies that have a whole bunch of children. The houses are never neat, and I think it's supposed to relate to like the stress and the way that the family is feeling. They're not super clean, or they're super stressed and super messy, and yeah. But after, I'm gonna go ahead and decorate right by this back door. Now, even in the movie, like, this back door does not look like this inside of the kitchen, but it looks like that from the outside of the house. So this is why I was getting so frustrated with this house. I was like, this is a grand back door. You can see it from the back of the house, but then in the inside of the house, it doesn't look like that at all. And then if you could also see, there was a door to the right of the kitchen, and that leads into a little hallway that leads into the laundry room. And you don't really see the laundry room. I'm about to start decorating it now. You see it for a little bit. One of the characters in the movie, oh wait, my bad, I'm decorating the office. The office does not appear in the movie, so I can talk over this for a little bit. But one of the characters from the movie is a police officer, and he's a total skeptic. He does not believe in ghosts, but they always have a police officer, or according to this movie, they always have a police officer on premise for, I'm not 100% sure what the cops are for, actually. Maybe it's to make sure that they're doing everything by the book and nothing is, like, they're not doing anything illegal. But, so they have this cop there, and he is getting coffee from the kitchen, because one of the things in the movie is that all the clocks stop at 3? I think it's 3. It's either 3 or 5, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. And everyone is staying up to see if the clocks stop at 3, and so they're all drinking all this coffee. So he goes into the room, and he's grabbing himself a pot of coffee, and he looks into the open door into this living room or laundry room area that I'm decorating here, and he sees like the ghost of a maid, like, walking through the different rows of this laundry room. And I say rows because in the movie they have like hanging curtains. I don't know if it's because the room is under renovation or if they were leaving their laundry out to dry, but I don't know why they do that inside, because they also have a spot to do it outside. So I'm not 100% sure why there was stuff hanging from the ceiling, but I didn't know how to replicate that in The Sims, so I just went ahead and made it like a traditional laundry room. But here you can see I'm adding the clothes drying racks onto that side of the house, and it is on that side of the house, according to one scene in the movie, although according to another scene in the movie it's on the other side of the house. So I don't want to talk about it. But anyway, so now we're going on into the upstairs, and the first room I'm going to decorate upstairs after this little pause while I try and figure out what I'm doing is going to be this kid's room. So you can see that there's this room off to the side that I'm not touching. That's because in the movie that room doesn't exist. Like, that side of the house doesn't exist. And I don't know why, but according to the movie, there's just a wall there, and I don't even see a door to get into there, so I didn't even know what to put back there, so I kind of just left it. But this is going to be the eldest daughter's room. And so the eldest daughter is the one with this wardrobe, and the wardrobe was left from the previous owners. This family bought this house from auction, and the wardrobe was left, and so was a whole bunch of stuff in the basement. And the wardrobe is like super, super creepy, and the kids don't really like it, but it's like a lot of storage, so they just leave it in there, and they're not quite sure how to move it. And the family, like I said at the beginning, doesn't have too much money, so they were thinking even about selling it, but they decided just to keep it in their daughter's room. And there's one scene in the movie where the second youngest daughter is sleepwalking, and she sleepwalks into the dresser, and she just keeps bumping her head into it. And she does this twice. One time, the eldest daughter grabs her father to go get the youngest daughter and deal with it. And then the second time, she gets the little girl herself, and she just guides her back. And instead of walking her back to her own room, she walks her back to just her bed. And she puts the little girl to sleep on her bed. And then she starts to walk over to her side of the bed. But she hears something that makes her stop. And then the camera pans, and you see the younger sister like sit up in bed, and she's staring at something with a terrified expression. And then the camera pans again, and right next to the eldest daughter on top of the wardrobe is the ghost that's haunting the family. That's that was like my favorite scene in the whole movie. But so yeah, and then the ghost like jumps down and scares her and like starts attacking her. And that was one of the, I can't remember, I don't think that happens when the Warrens are there, so that has to happen within the first, 45 minutes, because I'm pretty sure the Warrens show up within the first 45 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes. But anyway, so you real quickly saw me decorate the upstairs bathroom there for a second, and then I'm going into the parents' room next. Now, this is where the floor plan upstairs is wrong. So, according to one scene in the movie, the parents' room is actually on the right of this little hallway right here, so it's technically where that eldest daughter's bedroom, where I put that eldest daughter's bedroom. But so in theory, I probably could have just switched the two bedrooms, but I also remember seeing the eldest daughter come out of the right side of the house, so I that's why I put her room over there to begin with. So I probably could, now thinking about it, I probably just could have switched the rooms, and it would have given me more room for the parents' room anyway, because the parents are supposed to have a fireplace in this room, but I could not fit it in here for the life of me. But they also have this ensuite, which you can see I kind of decorated here off to the side. But the part of this that doesn't make any sense is that when Lorraine Warren is doing their laundry for them, because that's kind of their thing, they come in and they help the family, they do chores for them, they fix up things around the house. She's looking from the front of the house, she's on the left, because they show an all-around view of the house, and she is on the side where all the windows are, which is on the left, right? And she looks up, and in one of those windows is the ghost going after the mother, who's in the master bedroom. But then she runs upstairs and goes to a house on the right, or a room on the right, and it just doesn't make any sense. It was messing with my brain, so I decided just to leave it. But now we're going on into one of the other kids' bedrooms. So this is for the two technically middle children, and they do have their own fireplace, which I thought was kind of interesting. There are 3 fireplaces in this house. I only put 2 because I couldn't fit one in the parents' room, but there is 3. And another spooky thing happens in this room. So one of the scenes, more famous scenes from the movie, is where the ghost is grabbing the one child's foot, but she thinks it's her sister. And they discover one of the ghosts that's haunting their family is hiding out, in the corner of their bedroom. So that's why I kind of did this open door thing here, because after the whole thing where it's pulling on her feet, and she insists that it's not pulling on her feet, the one girl says that the ghost is standing right behind her other sister, who went and walked up to the door she swung the door open, and she's like, no, it's standing right behind you. So I left the door open, so it kind of created that little alcove that the ghost could stand in. And then coming over here, this is going to be the 2 youngest girls' bedrooms. So like I said, I made one a toddler because she doesn't go to school. She stays home with the mom when the other kids go, so I figured she was definitely a whole lot younger. And I gave them a kids' activity table and a couple of different kids' art decorations. Oh, and then I chose this panda because the youngest daughter has an imaginary friend named Rory. It's one of the ghosts, and she can only see him if she uses this music box that has a tent top to it. It's like a circus tent. And she can only see him if she uses that music box and cranks it and then opens it. And the mirror from the top of the music box, you can see Rory behind it. And I thought that umbrella that the panda was holding looked very similar to the music box. And obviously we don't have a music box in The Sims, so I was kind of like how I used the clown painting in the Poltergeist house. I was using that to resemble the music box. But now going down into the basement. So the basement is where the last scene happens, kind of. It's where the exorcism happens. And they first discover the basement by one of the kids accidentally falling into the closed off area. And when they go downstairs, the first thing that you see is a giant piano. Now it's not a grand piano, which is why I did this one trick. I learned it from watching Lissy's videos. Basically, I flipped a bookshelf around and then I merged the keyboard into the piano, and so that's how I decided to do that one. And then over here I'm placing just a whole bunch of junk, because one of the things is that the dad's going to go through and try and figure out how to sell some of these objects to get them some more money. But then I also placed this rocking chair in the center because during the exorcism they do tie her to a chair, so I thought that that was kind of a neat thing to add. But besides that, that is pretty much it for this build. I'm just going to create a little area under the stairs here, because in one scene, one of the characters does fall down behind the stairs through a whole bunch of different holes in the wall. But yeah, besides that, that is it. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye!